Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! Hello everybody! I've made several posts about my older sister Candy before, but I'm back with another one, which is honestly hysterical. I was actually on the phone with my ex-brother-in-law cracking up about it on my way home. So basically, my sister called my mother the other day and tried to convince her to pick the kids up and bring them to my house for my great-grandmother to watch, without okaying it with my great-grandmother first. My mom obviously refused because she was at work, and I had the car my great-grandmother and I share since I use a car during the week for work. So on Saturday, my great-grandmother went to pick up the kids, as usual, so they could spend the night with us and go to church today. After church, Nana will keep the kids for a few more hours before taking them home. However, when she took the kids home, Candy blatantly refused to take them and made many excuses why she couldn't and wouldn't take them. So I had just woken up from a nap because I'm sick, and I was confused to see my great-grandmother coming back inside with the kids with her. Now, to clarify, it's spring break for the kids, so naturally my sister didn't want to deal with them. My great-grandmother was really upset because she had things she has to do during the week that she can't take the kids to, and she was so angry she was almost in tears. So I decided to take it upon myself to let the kids chill for a bit and play while I had a cup of hot tea to soothe my throat and get something to eat before I loaded them back in a car and drove them home. The two older kids were really upset with their mom because they were excited to see her, and she basically rejected them, especially my oldest nephew. He got really upset when we were loading him in a car. Luckily, we managed to keep him calm with kids YouTube, and Nana went back inside so I could take the kids home. When I got to my sister's house, she opened the door and got all pissy when I told her I brought the kids home. I calmly explained that I'm sick and our heat went out, which it actually did. My great-grandma is relying on a tiny space heater, and I'm using my heated blanket. This is the third time our heat has gone out, so our house is pretty cold. My sister told me that she was not taking the kids and demanded I take them back to my house. She was telling me about all the stuff she had to do during the week, and that she had talked to Nana, my great-grandma, about keeping the kids for this week. That was a blatant lie. I kept my voice low and tried not to argue with her so I wouldn't scare the kids, as they were still in a car. But the driver's side door was open. My sister told me I was scaring the kids. Meanwhile, I was talking low and non-aggressively, and she was standing on a doorstep and was leaned over and yelling in my face. I just calmly told her, "Candy, either you take your kids or I will call the cops and report you for abandonment. Those are your only two options. Taking them back to my house is not an option." Basically, gentle parenting my older sister. She then threatened to call the cops on me, claiming that I forcibly took them out of our great-grandma's care to bring them back to her. I did not. Nana happily agreed to let me take the kids home because her back and leg have really been bothering her, and she's exhausted. I told her the cops wouldn't take her seriously if she called them for that, but I was ready to handle it if it came to that. Then she started shaking and fake crying, with no tears of course, telling me she was too overwhelmed. She's dealing with DHS and she has a mediation hearing to find out if she gets to keep the kids or not. I simply told her that wasn't my problem, and I gave her the only options I had. Oh, she also accused me of calling DHS on her the moment she opened the door and saw me standing there. I had no idea DHS had been called on her again, and told her that. She actually seemed to believe me for once and placed the blame on my ex-brother-in-law. She then told me to give her a minute and went inside and closed the door. So I just went to the car and sat in the driver's seat to wait on her. The two older kids were freaked out and the baby was calling out for his mom. After 10 minutes, she came outside and was on the phone. then went back inside for 5 more minutes. I honestly thought she was calling the cops on me. My niece was scared and I was thinking not to have to call the cops on her. Because what kind of mother refuses to take her own children? Especially when she knows that the house she wanted her kids to stay in for a week or longer had no heat. Eventually, she finally came back out and started to unbuckle the kids. My oldest nephew refused to get out of the car for his mom, so I had to pick him up and take him out of the car and draped his coat over him. My older sister literally tried to physically intimidate me by standing over me and yelling in my face. Then she threatened to call the cops on me, and then she started fake crying and trying to guilt trip me before she realized I wasn't giving in. Now, I hate confrontation, so I was having a silent panic attack with my heart pounding and hands shaking. But I refused to play into her act and kept myself calm, specifically because I didn't want to scare the kids. I had to soothe and comfort the 2 older kids while we were waiting on their mom when she went back into the house because my niece was about to cry, thinking I was going to go to jail. Candy's entitlement just baffles me. And the fact that she tried to lie to my face saying that she and Nana had talked all weekend about her keeping the kids is absolutely ridiculous. She just didn't want to keep her kids over spring break. Luckily, Nana and I have improved our relationship, and she wasn't upset with me at all for taking the kids home. She's old, tired, and in a lot of pain right now, so she didn't have the energy to take care of the kids. I did end up calling my ex-brother-in-law when I was driving home and explained the situation to him so he could tell his lawyer and get it put in the file he has against her. My sister also refused to let me see what the inside of her house looked like. She is missing the entire top row of her teeth, and she looked nearly 50 years old at the ripe old age of 25. I will probably make a DHS report to explain everything that happened that evening. And if she does try to accuse me of doing that, I will own up to it. There was also an unfamiliar car parked in front of her house, and there was somebody inside the house. Her boyfriend doesn't have a car because his license got revoked due to several DUIs. And the last one resulted in him losing his car because he totaled it while driving drunk. I remember the day I first met him. His name was Chad, and he was hired by the construction company I had been working at for the past 5 years. We were in desperate need for workers, and Chad was available, so my boss gave him a chance. Little did we know what kind of a-hole he would turn out to be. From day one, he was rude and disrespectful to everyone. He made fun of my clothes and my accent and acted like he was better than everyone else. He had only been doing construction for a year after getting fired from his accounting job for a DUI. So he had no right to act like he was better than us. But it wasn't until he violated my privacy that I decided to get back at him. He got a hold of my phone and went through my private Instagram account. Yeah, I was one of the few idiots out there that didn't have a passcode for my phone at the time. He found pictures of me smoking weed and showed them to my boss, thinking he was getting me in trouble. Little did he know that my boss and I used to smoke together before we both quit. I was so angry that he would invade my privacy like that, so I decided to teach him a lesson. We have a rule at our company that anything we find hidden behind the walls of the houses we remodel, we get to keep. So I came up with a plan to plant some fake gold coins behind the wall and let him find it. It didn't take long for the perfect opportunity to present itself. Chad was always coming in late and making excuses about traffic and trains, and one day I overheard him saying that if he won the lottery, he would quit this job for not getting the respect he deserved. He had no idea how much respect he had to earn in our line of work. So I went online and bought some fake gold coins and put them in a metal box I found at an antique store. I waited for the perfect moment to hide it in the wall, and it didn't take long for Chad to find it. When he opened the box, he called my boss a freaking loser and quit on the spot. He thought he was rich and that he could leave us all behind. But little did he know that the coins were fake, and that was the best $40 I had ever spent. After he quit, my boss told us that he was going to fire Chad anyway for always showing up late. I wish I could have seen the look on his face when he found out the coins were fake. He thought he had won the lottery, but in reality, he had lost everything. Looking back, I know it wasn't the most ethical thing to do, but I couldn't stand the way Chad treated me and everyone else. He thought he was better than us, but in the end, he was just a fool who fell for a cheap trick. I still work for the same construction company, and we still have the same rule about keeping anything we find behind the walls. But I haven't felt the need to plant any more fake treasures. Chad taught me a lesson too. It's not about revenge or getting even. It's about being the bigger person and rising above the petty insults and disrespect. I was at the store with my mom, a US Marshal, when the incident happened. It was just a typical day for us, running errands together. My mom was in uniform and I was wearing a hoodie and jeans. Definitely not dressed like an employee of the store. We were in one of the aisles when we heard a woman screaming. "Excuse me, young man." The woman was shouting. I turned around and saw a middle-aged woman with an angry expression on her face. She had short blonde hair and was wearing a bright pink tracksuit. She was holding a glass jar of pickles in her hand, and I couldn't help but notice the veins popping out of her forehead. I looked around wondering if there was someone else she was yelling at, but no one was nearby. She was definitely talking to me. "What's the matter?" I asked, trying to remain calm. "I've been trying to get this jar open for the past 10 minutes and no one here will help me," she complained. "I want you to open it for me." "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I don't work here," I said, showing her my hands, which were empty. "Don't give me that nonsense. I saw you stocking the shelves earlier. Now open this jar for me," she demanded, pointing the jar towards me. I didn't know why she wanted to open the jar or if that was okay with the store to start with. So I told her, "I'm sorry, but I really don't work here. You're mistaken." "Open this jar right now, you lazy little brat," she shouted, taking a step towards me. I could feel my heart racing, but I didn't want to escalate the situation. "Ma'am, please calm down." My mom spoke up, walking towards us. "He doesn't work here. He's my son." The woman turned to my mom, still holding the jar of pickles. "Well, why didn't you say so? Your son should have opened this jar for me." "I'm sorry, ma'am, but my son is not obligated to open a jar of pickles for you," my mom said, her voice calm but firm. "Please put the jar away and leave us alone." The woman glared at my mom for a moment before throwing the jar of pickles at me. I didn't have the time to react, but thankfully my mom did. As the woman threw the jar of pickles at me, I could see it coming towards me in slow motion. But before it hit me, my mom jumped in front of me, deflecting the jar mid-air, and it shattered on the floor behind her. And I could see her wince in pain. "Are you okay?" I asked, concerned. "I'm fine, don't worry about me," she said, gritting her teeth. "Go wait outside the store for me." I nodded, knowing better than to argue with her when she was in her Marshal mode. I stepped outside feeling a mix of emotions, relief that I was okay, anger at the woman who had thrown the jar, and pride in my mom for always protecting me. But before I start leaving, I hear my mom say, "Ma'am, you're under arrest for attempted assault of a minor." She grabbed the woman's wrist and snapped the handcuffs on, quickly and efficiently. "What? You can't do this!" The woman protested, struggling against my mom's grip. "I can, and I just did. Now you're going to come with me to the station," my mom said, her tone leaving no room for argument. It was rare that someone like Karen got their comeuppance, but she had missed with the wrong person. And as for my mom, she may have hurt her hand in the process, but I knew she would do it all over again if it meant protecting me. Some years ago, I dated a girl. The relationship was bad. She was very controlling and abusive. It ended up really bad and we broke up. I kept going on with my life, and after some years, I got a decent job. It was enough to solve all my needs, have a comfortable life, and make some savings. The thing is, a couple of months after getting my job, my ex contacted me. She first asked me to talk. I believe that she may wanted to reconnect or something, but she showed up with a 5-year-old child claiming that he was my son and demanding child support. I didn't believe her, but the kid's age matched the time since we cut contact. I got advice from a lawyer, a friend of mine, to try and solve this out of court. I offered to take responsibility, pay all the costs, and be an active part of the kid's life only after making a DNA test. Everyone was okay with this except for my ex. She acted offended and demanded to just give her the money she deserved. She used all the excuses she could, even contacted my family to tell them that I was trying to avoid taking responsibility for her kid. When she ran out of excuses and the DNA test was finally made, surprise, surprise, I am not the father. She was so mad with the result and cried about the money, saying it was unfair and that she deserved it, but she didn't accomplish anything. Moving on to last week, there was a little party at my parents' house. My brother, a friend, and I were talking, and my brother started to joke about the situation with my ex. My friend and I started to joke about it too. Some of our comments were a little dark and bad, but we were far away from the rest of the people. Literally, we were on the opposite side of the house, and nobody else could hear us. At least that was what we thought. We were laughing like crazies when my sister appeared very angry and pushed me against the wall. She spied on us and heard our conversation, and she was really mad. She started to yell at us about how horrible people we were for mocking a poor woman. A few hours later, when the party ended, she asked me to go to the kitchen with our parents, and she started to say how awful I was for the previous situation. Apparently, my ex had been in contact with her, and she believed her version, and that was her way to have an intervention. My brother and I were like, "Are you serious now?" When she started to say how I forced my ex into being a single mother and that I had a moral obligation to help her. My dad only said that we maybe were being too cruel by making jokes about her, but that I wasn't responsible for that kid. My mom then surprised all of us when she said, "Even if the kid is not yours, you are making more than enough money to support that child. You should have helped her." Since then, I have been receiving texts. My dad and brother are on my side, saying that I am not responsible for her, but my sister is telling me how horrible I am for ruining their lives. My mom only said, "It is your decision and I respect it. I'm just very disappointed that you ended up being so selfish. I'm aware that she doesn't deserve my money and I'm not planning to give her any. But the constant harassment of my sister trying to guilt me is just exhausting." In a way, I think she and my mother are really entitled.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.